Yeah, well. Mm. All right. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. 5 watching. All right, here we go. Hooray, Kyle disappeared. Good evening, people. Same to you, Davey. Same to you. So, you should have stayed, Davies. You would have had a good night. We only got done at 3 in the morning. Well, let's go see if anybody else comes on here now that we have things posted. Glad to see you guys waited until tonight to come out. Hey, Dale, what's going on? Haven't seen you in a while. Now, who's awesome, Barney? Davies? I don't know. So, Mike, we greet each other like that all the time. If we don't say F you to each other, we have a shitty night. Oh, you would have had fun, Barney. I think I was finally asleep around 4 a.m., so it was a very late night. It was a good show, though. Hey, Adam, how you doing? Adam came out with his new sprint car. Thank you, Barney. Mike Woods, how you been? So, what's it like up there, Mike, now that, you don't have any place to race? Oh, we got 11 people already. This show's just jamming. All right, so we're going to see here. We're going to go over some of the places we can race this week. There hasn't been too much posted, but it looks like, let's just see. Ultimate RC Pit Stop. Are they going to be running this week? I'm on air. There we go. Let's see. Ultimate, their schedule. This will be September 7th, so they'll be running Sunday. And they will be running the 4th. So they'll be running this Thursday. So let's get on out there and see if we can get a race going on Thursday night. I want to go out. I want to race my sprint car. So let's get some people out there and try and pack the pits. Tried last week. Nobody showed up. So, and Pheasantland, they're off this week. They will be returning Tuesday. We got RJ's on Sunday. You got Hoagland's tonight. They're racing now. And, of course, they'll be running Friday. So that's Jersey RC Racing. Who else we got? I think Park Lane, they'll be running this weekend on the off-road on Sunday. I was over there yesterday checking out. They had their sale yesterday. Their Labor Day sale. I was checking out the track. They got the Mini Z track up. They're going to get started running off-road and on-road in Mini Z in October. So if you're interested in that, and they still have their promotion, you buy a car, free month of racing. So get a hold of Enzo about that and see what you can do there. Plus, they have Losi Sprints there if you want to buy one of those. All right, let's see here. You have to work at 5 a.m. Indoors. Oh, do they run Saturday night? We've been trying to get Saturday nights going for a while, Mike. At least outside. They're still not ready with the schedule, but I'm going to assume we'll still be running Tuesday, and they'll be running on Sunday for the Indoor Dirt Show. I don't know if they're going to do too many Saturday shows, Mike, but hopefully they will. Okay, you still have Underground. Hey, Brian Horning. Only track in Syracuse with Hobby Shop. Underground, yeah. Well, at least you got Underground. Underground's nice. Oh, you'll be there, Dale, Thursday night? Pit stop Saturday. All right, so off-road. Davies, I guess you're going. All right, Adam, yeah, come on out Thursday night. Bring your sprint car. Get Zach to come out. I tried to get him to come out. I know, it makes it tough for you with that drive. Just take off Monday, Mike. The one thing you'll have to deal with, though, Kyle announcing on a Sunday. I don't know how you're going to deal with that, Mike. All right. And I don't know if our RJs will be running tomorrow night. And I know last week they did try to do indoor practice. So, you know, if you're interested in RJs tomorrow, besides Sunday, I'd pay attention to their Facebook page and see what they got going on. So, looks like Dan, he's going to try and go up there for Sunday for racing. So, 183 will be racing on Saturday. So, if you can make it out there. Let's just check. Can't forget 183. Is this their oval? Is this the oval? Oh, that's 997. Why is it taking me to 997? Let's see. All right, Loudon. Let us know if you're going to be doing the Oval Nationals this week. I think it might be. Anybody else can confirm that. That'd be good. So, if you can, head up there. 183 on Saturday and Ultimate Sunday. So you're going to have racing pit stop Saturday, 183 Saturday, Ultimate Sunday, RJ Sunday, and Park Lane Sunday. Hey, Cage. The rest of the pit crew is home with a headache. So, seems like a uniquely Kyle problem. So, Davey's going to the beach all weekend. Oh, God. Just imagine him at the beach. Trying not to. That's what Winter Pheasantland ran Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. Yes, they did. I just don't know if he's going to keep up that 3-day schedule. We'll find out. They're going to announce it soon. So they're trying to get things drummed up for the incoming indoor season. And just, I'm sure plenty of you have heard some rumors. Yeah, I'm not. Actually, we're all getting lucky tonight because Kyle has a headache, right, Mike Woods? So, if you've heard any of the rumors that certain track might be going up for sale, you can pretty much confirm that is not going to happen. So, using his tool too much gives him a headache. So, but yes, talk to the track owner. Sounds like, it's gonna remain the status quo. So, let's hope it stays that way. Right in my bake. Now you retracted it. All right, so let's get into results here. We got some people on board. Then we'll go from there and see where we go. So, yeah, if you got something you want to talk about, start suggesting. All right, so we're going to go first to Pheasant Land for Tuesday night racing. 43 entries, 30 drivers, so not a bad Tuesday. We had a lot of rain going on here and there, so we had to have a little bit of a rain delay, but we got the show in. So 13.5 sprint, Corey Milligan, myself, and Mike Saladay. It was basically a three-way battle for the win on the last lap. Big block, Adam Shucker, Wyatt Yan, Kevin Miller. Wyatt gave that up at the very last minute, didn't he, Adam? BL2, Chad Kohler, Joe Ilg, and Dave Draka. Losi Sprint, Matt McGowan and Brian Arsenic. Tracks is modified, Dalton Myers, Pete Ludwig, and Mark Klaus. And we'll jump over to, let's see, what do we got now? Let's see if, I don't think RJ's ran Wednesday, but we'll check. Nope, no running for RJ's on Wednesday. So that's going to take us over to Ultimate RC Pit Stop for Thursday night. Thursday night, $20 per person. And you weren't there. We only had 14 drivers and 29 entries. Come on, guys, you got to come on out. 10.5 late model, Brett Hollinger, George Varsdick, Gary Siegfried. Somehow, someway, somebody entered me in late model, but I did not run a late model. George Varsdick's car looks very good. Now, Brett's car is spectacular, but George's looks really good. 13.5 Mud Boss, Glenn Killian, Matt Kirkpatrick, Mike Saladay. 13.5 Sprint, myself, Mike Saladay, Hal Gilmer. 17.5 Sprint Car, John Pauly, Brett Hollinger, and George Varsdick. BL2 Mud Boss, Mike Saladay, John Pauly, Matt Kirkpatrick. Midget, John Pauly and George. Tracks is modified, Glenn Killian, Matt Kirkpatrick, and David Bachman. So there you go. David Bachman coming out of retirement. He used to be the announcer up at Ultimate. So that's going to take us to Saturday. And that was RJ's Rob the Bank show, which I'm sure they really were hoping for a few more drivers. They only had 45 entries, so. All right, final results for Rob the Bank. 1/10 late model, Eric Belts and George Varsdick. Brett Hollinger. 13.5 Mud Boss, Kurt Nicholas, Chuck Eccles, Robert Hoffman. 17.5 Street Sock, Dwayne Lindenmuth, Chad Snyder, and Kurt Nicholas. 3.05 Sprint, Doug Knaus, Dwayne Lindenmuth, and Chuck Eccles. 360 Sprint, Cameron Fleur, Phil Marabella, and Lance Kramer. 410 Sprint, Phil Cooper, Cameron Fleur, Phil Marabella. BL2 Mud Boss, Kurt Nicholas, Cody Roth, Chuck Eccles. Midget, John Pauly, Mike Culp, Kane Metzger. Tracks is Midwest Modified, Kurt Nicholas, Chuck Eccles, and Medevac, Mikey Taller. And then, let's see, that's Saturday. That's going to bring us back to Ultimate on Sunday. The day show for the doubleheader, Pheasant Land and Ultimate RC. Same day. A lot of people who did that. A lot of people realized that was a long day and went home early. I mean, it was midnight, so. 10.5 late model, Brett Hollinger, Scott Davies, fuck you Davies, George Varsdick. 13.5 Sprint, Glenn Killian, Les Hartzell, Bill Osborne. 17.5 Sprint Car, Cameron Fleur, Eric Belts, Phil Marabella. BL2 Mud Boss, John Pauly, Brian Horning, and Chuck Eccles. Low C Sprint, Sean Black, Rise Robinson, Chuck Eccles. Midget, John Pauly, George Varsdick, Les Hartzell. Mini Mud Boss, Glenn Killian, John Pauly, and Matt Kirkpatrick. Tracks is Modified, Tim Diebler, Chuck Eccles, and Dalton Meyer. And that's going to bring us back to the really big show at Pheasantland, the Labor Day race. 129 entries for a Saturday night show. Sunday night show. Keep thinking it was Saturday. I am a day off. I still think today's Monday. Having the show tonight is not going to help my schedule, so. All right, final results. How many classes do we have? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 classes. So it was a full night of racing, and we got to see some classes that we haven't seen either in a while or not at all. 13.5 Crate Late. When was the last time we had that out? Kurt Nicholas, Tom Pirasani, and Jason Connick. 13.5 Sprint, Chris Bertotti, Mike Wood, and Travis Unglert. Big Block, Kurt Nicholas, Travis Unglert, Chris Bertotti. BL2, Kurt Nicholas, John Pauly, Mark Klaus. Losi Sprint, Dale Moningoff, Brian Arsenic, Chuck Eccles. Midget, Travis Unglert, Kane Metzger, and Dan Yaris. Mini Mud Boss, John Pauly, Alex Moyer, and Chris Solt. Mod Late Model, Brett Hollinger, Todd Ravel, Bob Sanso. Mod Sprint, Cameron Fleur, Eric Belts, Lance Batdorf. Traxxas Late Model, first time we've seen those run out here. Kurt Nicholas, Tom Pirasani, Tim Miller. Traxxas Modified, Dalton Myers, Kurt Nicholas, and Mark Klaus. That was the week in Pennsylvania racing. So we're going to switch over here. We're going to see what they've been doing over there in Jersey. So let's see here. September 2nd, that's then. Tuesday night at Hoagland's, that was August 26th. Let's see how many entries they got. They had 25 drivers, 45 entries. Final results: 360 Sprint, Travis Unglert, Tom Pirasani, Frank Lachenite. Sprint, Losi Sprint, Tristan Farina Sr., Mark Norris, Brian White. 13.5 Street Stock, Buddy Miller, Tom Pirasani, Matt Hunt. BL2 Mud Boss, Chuck Eccles, Joe Misiski, Mike Bernard. Mod Sprint, Travis Unglert, Paulie Kramer, Barry York. On Vintage Coupe, Sean Kelly, Angelo Taromina, and Chuck Eccles. And let's see, what else did they have? They had a Friday night show, I believe. Yes, they did, August 29th. 29 drivers, 56 entries, so not a bad night for them. 13.5 Mud Boss, Travis Unglert, Dickie Robbins, Barry Brahman. 360 Sprint, Travis Unglert, Gregory Huska, Matt Hunt. Losi Sprint, Mark Norris, Jason Dooley, Leah Sargent. 13.5 Street Stock, Buddy Miller, Matt Hunt, Joe Bailey. BL2 Mud Boss, Larry Bird. He gave up basketball for this, huh? Justin Herman, Brad Wilson. Mod Sprint, Travis Unglert, Paulie Kramer, Bob Moresco. Vintage Coupe, Sean Kelly, Wayne Pine, Rob Williams. That's your week in racing. All right, let's see. What do you guys have to say here? Oh, you have a lot to say. Yeah, you hung tight, hope he would bobble. He did bobble. Cage Rattler, they all left. Yeah, they did. Preston's retired for the winter. He's bowling. Kyle's back to work, so he's not accustomed to that yet. He's been off all summer. Where were you riding your bike? No, I didn't expect over 100 entries at Pheasantland either, Scott Davies. I really thought it'd be 50 to 60. I thought it'd be a little bit more local with a few other guys, but nope. Everybody came out. That was a good show. Is 17.5 Sprint Open Speedo or Blanky? At Ultimate, it is Open Speedo. So you can run boost. So if you want to come out, run that. I'll run it with you. Brian Horning. Chuck and I had a good race for second and ultimate side by side a couple times. It was great racing. Good job. And it's always great racing with Chuck Eccles. Do you start the night on full tread or low at ultimate for 13.5 sprint? Usually you'll start full or low, that's fine, but usually by the end of the night you're going to finish up with balds. This past Thursday, since we just didn't have enough cars to run and it was a little damp, we just pretty much stayed on tread. I ran full tread the whole night. So I watched Brett with his 17.5, and I think he was running his Jax the Axe car, which is the 13.5. He was trying to run that with slicks, and he was having a hard time. He'd get 5 good laps and then, get a little bit in the dust, and then I get squirrely on him. So, all right, folks. So we are at 8 o'clock. We've done all the results. Where do we go from here? Whoa. My phone just went sideways. There we go. Let's turn that off. We don't need rotation. So, oh, hold on. I just closed it. All right, here we go. Sunday, they didn't even prep the track. They let it as is from Thursday, and the track was awesome. That's good. I mean, track wasn't bad Thursday. It was just, we didn't have a lot of people to come out. So, why? All right, there we go. All right, so there was an interesting post the other day. Hold on here. Nope. Interesting post the other day. Dave Marr originally posted this. I'm sure some of you have seen it. So we're going to blame Dave. If Dave's watching, and blaming you for this one. He posted an old race sheet from Kranzel's RC Raceway and Hobbies. The 2003 Keystone State Dirt Oval Championship. April 5th to 6th, 2003. If any of you people were there, just let us know. Be interested in hearing about that. Let's just see what's different there. So I know this caused a lot of chitter chatter with some of the people that reposted it. It was a 2-day show. Friday was open practice for all registered racers, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., so a whole day of practice. Saturday, doors open at 7:30 for practice. 3 rounds of heats starting at 10 a.m. Mains to follow. Saturday classes on short track, EDM, GB stock, sprint stock, winged, 4-wheel drive sedan, wedge stock. Then, did I get that right? Yep. Sunday, doors open at 7:30 for practice. 3 rounds of heat starting at 10 a.m. Mains to follow. Sunday classes on the large oval. EDM, GB stock and mod, stock truck, sprint stock, 2-wheel drive wedge, and 4-wheel drive sedan wedge stock. Compete for the 6th annual Mr. Dirt title. Combining finishes between Saturday and Sunday's main event. All mains will have a 2-car bump up. All classes must run foam tires and 6-cell battery, 3300 milliamp, blah, blah, blah. Weekly rules apply. $40 entry includes 1 laydown handout Epic motor. Mod, $30 because there's no handout motor. Race specials, enter EDM GB stock, stock sprint, or 4-wheel drive sedan wedge, both days using the same handout motor for only $60. So they even had a website back then, KranzelsRCHobbies.com. So that was out in Lemoyne, PA. I've heard a lot of you guys talk about Kranzels. So that was after my day. Let's see here. Back then you pre-registered. They had open, looks like, places to put your frequency. You had to have at least 2 frequencies listed, so you had to have an alternate. So on Sunday on the big track they had 6 classes. Saturday they had 3 classes. So I imagine it's 4-minute mains, 4-minute heats, probably 4-minute mains. Let's see. I'm just seeing what you guys have to say. Maybe work on your car. Maybe we'll work on the car. When do dirt oval tracks go to a winter indoor season? Well, that's Ultimate last year ran. We'll get back on topic about Kranzels. They ran until late November last year. Pheasantland, on the other hand, they started running indoor right around November, and I predict that's going to be about the same. I even think October, because once the point season's over for Tuesday, the crowds are really going to start to dwindle, and I think sometime in October, they're probably going to open up the doors and at least do some practice racing, with points probably starting in November. Yeah, Davey's talking about the temp cutoff. Tony Stewart used to come to Kranzels for the championships. I mean, if there's any pictures of this track, I posted on the feed so people can see it. I'd like to see what it looks like. Now, I will say, when I quit racing back in 91 or 92, there was no Kranzels, I believe. So, and by the time I got out of it, and this is what me and my buddy said, because one of those things, like, we raced constantly from, as kids, from pretty much 86 to about 91 or so. Then all of a sudden, and we talked, me and my buddy Dan, we talked about this, all of a sudden, it just seems like it just died. Tracks just disappeared. Even tracks that were running, they just didn't get cars anymore. So it's just all of a sudden just died. So it seemed like early 90s. It was gangbusters in the mid 80s, but then by early 90s, it just seemed to die off around here. At least oval racing did. So, you know, so it's interesting to see, like, what happened afterwards after I was out of it. I'm kind of curious about that. Kind of wish I would have stayed into it, but, you know, what can you do? You know, you discover girls, so you start hanging out with them, and girls don't go to racetracks. One thing we noticed, women don't really go to racetracks. All right, let's see here. Now, I know Nick, he posted this, he reposted this, and of course this always starts the controversy of, you know, how things are done then, how things are done today. I mean, can you... I think it's a little hard to compare today versus then. Back then, I mean, I'm going to say, at least when I was in it, it was far more common. You didn't just have people that were race fans doing this. It was just people that just like, hey, that looks like fun. They got into it. I mean, right now, it just seems like, you know, it's more people that are race fans than anything. Yeah, Brian, you were right. I ran an RC10 too, and it just seemed to die in the 90s. All right, Ultegra, mid-90s, surge again in the 2000s with Nitro as internet and forums made. Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. We were really sick and tired of batteries, and then all of a sudden, you know, it seemed like Nitro was way to go. Everybody went that way. Pit lizards are everywhere. That's how Billy Nye gets his chicks. Well, it's probably at the sprint car races, Scott. It's not at the RC races. So there's definitely, it seems like we're going to probably, if we go through history, if we have historical eras, it seems like we probably, hey, Murphy's here. At least somebody's here. It seems like we're going to have at least 3 or 4 different eras. You're going to have the early eras. Like, there's stuff that's even earlier. Like, Barry Rosenberger talking about, like, the running in the 70s and some of that stuff. If you look at some of those cars and just how primitive and low-tech they were, I mean, they were, 8 scale, just a fiberglass chassis with basically no suspension. And then, then they got the 12 scale cars and things started getting faster. And then the 80s came out with the buggies, with the suspensions and all that fun stuff where they, that's where you get the RC10 and things got a little more complicated. And then you go into the 90s where it's, then nitro started to show up. And then, we're back to batteries. So, I mean, it looks like there were still batteries that, in the early 2000s and, like you said, probably the housing crash nuked it because everybody had no money. So, any girl at the track is usually described as track hot. Yeah. So, I get that everybody wants to go back and run like the old days, but I think there's a lot we could take from that, but we got to remember, like, where we are now and what it takes for tracks to survive now. And some people pointed that out. And I deal with a lot of these newer guys, and they're happy running the way they are. They're having fun with it. And to admonish them to say, like, hey, we shouldn't have these tracks as classes and all that. I mean, the track owners rely on that. Davey and I get in this argument all the time because he insists you shouldn't start with the Traxxas class. And in oval racing, that's pretty much the go-to. Off-road, on-road, that's not really where people go. But Traxxas really doesn't have any inroads in those classes. Like, the Mud Boss has made it real easy to get into oval racing. So track owners need to do what they can to survive. And for when I got back into it, the most purpose-built car that we saw on a regular basis show up, occasionally there'd be, purpose-built late models, and, every once in a while you see 17.5 Sprints. But for the most part, I mean, the most purpose-built one you would see that was still a Traxxas was that Savage Sprint. That was fairly common at the time, and that's not now. That died off really fast. But if you wanted to get into purpose-built cars at that point, you probably would have missed a lot of races. There just would not have been enough out there for you to really get started in. So you probably would have wound up yarning Mud Boss. So I know Davey's going to tell me I'm wrong. So Dirt Buster 12 scale races. Dust Buster. Well, they got RC10s you can still buy, Brian. I was at Park Lane. They had one there yesterday, so one of those repo kits. I was wondering, sim racing on the PC hurt RC racing. 90s is when I got into sim racing. It might have. I mean, sim racing now is just so... I mean, I was doing sim racing in the early 2000s, late 90s. And it was sort of popular, but it's far more popular now. I mean, back then, you get your whatever game you were running, which might have been the NASCAR game, and then you hopped on one of their servers and you played on front there with Sierra. Now it's just dedicated to iRacing, and that came out sometime in the mid 2000s. So I remember when that came out, I was like, oh, that sounds fun, but it's very expensive. So I was wondering that too, if in the future sim racing is going to steal our drivers. People that may have gone RC racing, they're going to decide to go sim racing instead. So they don't have to leave the house, which we see as a key factor in getting kids out to tracks anymore. They don't want to leave the house. Want to. It's also not. It's not that it's a rough environment for kids. It's just, we don't really seem to make them welcome there. So, a few tracks are trying, but I don't think we make it, on a whole, a really good effort to bring kids out. It's just seen more of as a novelty. So, those kids there are probably going to just go sim racing. I mean, you go on YouTube, you see tons of sim racing channels about that, and you see a lot of younger people that just really aren't car people. They're into sim racing. So, and sim racing is hella expensive. So you can just spend just as much on that, if not more, than going RC racing. JT Marshall, I got one race left in my season. Probably take the winter off and only race Lucy. Scott Davies is not Scott Davies. I don't mind the Traxxas mod, honestly. It's the Mud Boss that has always been the issue. I'm curious. Let's see where you get with this. It's not a ready to race, buy it, race it the same day class. No, it's not. Mud Boss takes build time and knowledge that isn't easily shared. The problem with Traxxas as a beginner is it teaches you poor driving and bad tuning info. Well, can we say that it teaches you bad driving? I know what you're saying, but some of the bad driving, maybe that's, we just don't, we don't discourage it. So, they won't lift a finger for a wrench. Yeah. But then again, when I was a kid, I mean, my dad did a lot of the work on the car too. So, I mean, I like building them, but, he was always the guy that, had the ideas. Scott Davies, purpose-built cars will always be better to learn on, but on the cheap, you need to buy a used car local and rely on that person to help you with the car. I don't disagree with what you're saying there. Purpose-built cars will always be better. I mean, they are easier to drive. But Brian here touches on a point. Purpose-built cars cost way too much to maintain. With the Mud Boss is a lot more affordable. Yes, it is. I mean, you break an AR on this. What is it, $15.95 or $19.95 for a repair? While in the Mud Boss, you break that, it's $3.50, $4. You boom, there you go, and it's very hard to break those. So I mean, on Sprint Car with repairs, you could easily have a bad night and wind up spending $50, $70 on repairs. Adam, you're right. They get bored between races. Why? Because there's no kids there. I mean, when I was, preteen and teenager and we're going to the track, there were a lot of people my age that you just hung out with. So it's, for us, it was fun because you got to go somewhere and just go hang out. But now it's different. I mean, but then again, when I was there at the track, it wasn't a lot of under preteens. You didn't see a lot of kids under 12. It was mainly that, 12 to 18 range that was out there. So we were all kind of preteens and teenagers, so we could kind of just go off on our own and go hang out. You didn't see a lot of really young kids there. Once in a while, but it wasn't like now where it's just, when you see the kids out there, they're usually younger. They're school age, which that's great, but it's one of those where, you know, mom has probably told dad, take the kids with you to go have father-daughter, father-son day, and brings them with. It's not so much of, teenagers. So, which, the teenagers, I mean, we see some kids. We got like Carter Rachinsky. He's a whiz kid at this. So he's a phenom. He's a little bit of an outlier. He can run with the best of them as far as adults go. So he's definitely an outlier. But think about how many teenage kids you see, like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's not many. That's really the demographic we need to get in here. So they're the ones that, you see it more on off-road and on-road, I think, but not really in oval. Oval's always been the redheaded stepchild, so. And kids don't want their license. They have their AC. Kids that take forever to get their license. Yeah. Yeah, they could do that all at home at Tegra. Bad driving. The cars are bulletproof and promote slamming. They're over tight, so it teaches people to just hammer the gas and shove it through the corners. No finesse or car control. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but we do see, there's people that come out of Mud Boss. They're great with sprint car. So, they're great in those purpose-built classes. I mean, I think that all comes down to the driver and what they want to put into it. I mean, Adam came out. He's only been running Mud Boss, and he came out with a sprint car. He looked pretty good Saturday night. So for $50 to $70, I can almost rebuild. Yes, you can. You could buy a whole roll. You could buy a whole roller at $50 off eBay. Dad is racing. He's using the track as a sitter. Yes, that's kind of where we're at. JT Marshall, there's a 13 or 14-year-old on my track that regularly wins. I'm glad he's not in any of my class. Yeah, that's usually what we say. But that's one. I mean, we don't see that often. I mean, teenagers, like, they're this is where the problem's going to lie, is that people, and we've touched on this a bit, you guys have, that, next generation, they're just so accustomed to having things digital. They're not really interested in working in the physical space. Maybe that'll change in the future when they kind of get tired of just sitting on their phones or computer all day, and they'll just revolt and decide, hey, we want to do things that are real. But it remains to be seen. So, I mean, I think now, and I know some people don't agree with this, but I think this hobby's really in danger of disappearing in the next few years. Maybe not 5 years from now, but 10? Can you see this being around in 10, when right now half of our field is over 40. The other half is between 30 and 40, with the smallest percentage being those that are between 15 and 30. So, and we just don't see a lot of really young people. It's a lot of us old farts. So what happens eventually when we can't marshal? That's what I always say. But what happens when we have a situation like we've, been discussing and been rumored lately, where these tracks up and disappear? And, like people point out, it's not the same old days that we had 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, where hobby shops could survive, have a space big enough they could have a track, and make money, because they're competing with online sales. I mean, you want to buy a Traxxas modified, you go to the local hobby shop, you say, oh, all right, well, they're what, $389 there. AMain, they're offering free shipping and a $20 off coupon. I'll just get it off of there, and it'll be here in 2 days. So, makes it hard for the shop owners to compete with that. So, I mean, from what I understand, from what I've been told, the markup on the parts is great, but how much markup are you making off of a $4 part? I mean, if you paid $2 for that $4 part at wholesale, and you make $2, you gotta sell a whole lot of freaking $4 parts to make some money. So that's a big issue, and that's what keeps the doors open. I mean, in order to keep tracks open, you need entries. You see tracks having a problem getting entries. And at the same time, too, if they're just relying on entries, how can they justify keeping open after a while and renting space? I mean, this is where we're seeing most of our oval tracks like Pheasantland. That's in a pre-existing space. They already own it. It's taken care of. RJ's pre-existing space that Bill's been able to, use because that owner's agreeable to letting him run there. Like Bloomsburg, that was a pre-existing space that they let them use. I'm sure they were charging them some kind of rent, but imagine if they had to go out and find a retail space for that. I mean, it's very difficult to keep a retail space open. I mean, considering how much property values have gone up and real estate taxes are, and just how much it costs to lease a property. I mean, I've talked to Enzo about that. They're doing well there, but it's not cheap. So, and having a track and, being able to bring everybody in to give them space to pit and park, it takes up a lot of room. So, I don't know. I mean, will this be able to stay around in the next 10 years? Considering all the financial turmoil we'll probably be going through. Yeah, some AJ Slow guys, some guys are getting the kids in it. Yes, Davies, you brought out your daughter. Let's see. There's a lot here. Did you see a GFRP just released? Yes, of course, because I bought a 2024. So that's why, Mike Woods. Thank me. You can thank me later for getting that out there. Up at Ultimate, my Mud Boss is just as fast or even faster than the 360 Sprints and Midgets. And sometimes, depending on how the track is, and sometimes the 360 Sprint's just as fast as the 17.5 or the mod cars early on. But, by the end of the day, nope. Yes, screen zombies. We're all screen zombies anymore. GFRP 2026 looks interesting. Has B6.3 style rear hubs. I did see those rear hubs look different. The front looks the same. Chassis looks a little different. You might have been there, but it wasn't racing. I don't remember what that's for. There has been an uptake in trade school admittance and trade jobs taken, so some are getting the net. Yeah, I mean, it's, you can't rely on going to college and going for, the white collar jobs, because they just those fields are saturated. We need people that can do real skills like plumbing and HVAC. I mean, come on, like we need mechanics, but it sucks to be a mechanic because they treat them guys like shit. You can make money, but you got to hustle and kill yourself. So, my daughter would be racing with me, but her schedule is insane. She can't possibly fit a race like that. Yeah, your daughter does come out now and then. She's a teenager. And Lexi Gockley, she's a teenager. So she comes out. Some guys are getting their kids into it. Yeah, I mean, that's, got to get them into it and keep them into it. I mean, that's all there is to it. 32 here. I'm half an old fart. Yes, you are half an old fart. Young boomers to oldest millennials. Yeah. Granzel's was old film back then. I mean, even when I was getting out of it, I mean, everybody pretty much, was migrating over to foam tire. On just about anything you ran. So, I mean, what we would run, I guess, there were no real rules. You just ran whatever body you wanted. Everybody pretty much ran an Eastern Dirt style modified body. That was the way to go. Or, guys would run late model bodies, but pretty much everybody was running foam tire at that point. It was open tire. You could run rubber tire, foam tire. I mean, there really back in the old days, there really wasn't much for rules. It was stock or mod. That was it. I got my modified from a local hobby shop. Must have been old stock because it actually said them. Actually a Mud Boss, yeah. Okay, but they have no track, no track. So Staubs, Ranzel's runs under Hobbytown. The business of owning RC track is not possible. A hobby shop, sure, you can do enough hobby shop sales to pay your bills. You can't have a track and shut it down half the year and make it work. Yeah, but you know, problem is with having that track, the further out you go, yeah, all right, you can get cheap land and a cheap lease, but then you lose your freaking customers. So, you know, I mean, think of all the hobby shops that have closed up because now it's just so easy to get that kind of shit on eBay or Amazon. You know, you won't get models. It's easier to just go on eBay or Amazon, buy them there, buy them right from the manufacturer, and you get a discount over buying in the hobby shop for, you know, I buy model kits. Like, all right, you go to the hobby shop, it's like, all right, it's $35 for a kit. Instead, you go to the manufacturer, go on Amazon, I can get that for $30 with free shipping, and it'll be here in 2 days. So, I mean, I think it's great that I have a hobby shop right up the street. I can go get that shit. Plus, they have trains. They're really big into trains. I'm not really a train person. They're all right, but you know, they make a ton of money off of it. And trains is another hobby that's, you know, kind of, you know, it's primary driver is getting older. So, let's see. Same with bike shops. Most that need leases die. Those who own space survive. Yeah, that's it. Most off the carcasses of the fallen. I mean, yep. Scott Davies. Only what a track can survive is someone owning the property or something like we're in 83. Practically there's no rent for a dead property. Yes, I mean, that's where it's going ahead. It's going to be basically backyard tracks. Especially for Oval, because, you know, Oval just doesn't pay the bills like the off-road stuff does. So that's still the most popular form of RC racing. Yeah, that's going to be it. Backyard tracks. But the problem with all that is, this is how I say it, there's no visibility. You don't walk by and see, hey, what are those guys doing? Oh, there's a racetrack there. Oh man, I remember these RC cars. Oh, you know, I always wanted to do that. This looks like fun, and get people in that way. I mean, when I was a kid in the 80s, like we would go to the RC track, and you know, you always had some type of crowd there during the night. People that either just came to the hobby shop, people that are just walking through town, or just teenagers that are bored, coming out just to watch. You know, you'd probably have throughout the night like 10 to 20 people just coming in to just look at it. We don't really get that because we're not in areas that are visible. We're in backwater places where it's, you know, this is, you know, we're almost like freaking chicken fighting, you know, back alleys where nobody can see what's going on. So it's a shame. So like somehow we need to be able to promote that, like Enzo there with Park Lane. It's great because he's in a great location right by Lowe's. People can walk by and go, what is this? Walk in and see the racing, go, oh, this is pretty cool. And I'm sure he's got plenty of people in there because of that. I gotta imagine Pit Stop gets the same thing. Now Trains and Lanes, they have high visibility right there, right along the highway. So I'm sure people go by like, what is that? And then try to figure out how to get there. So, all right, let me see. I'm just going to catch up. Brian, I found out that I tried just about everyone's setups, but they don't work for me. So I just kept my own setup and found out that what works for me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what you got to do. AJ Slow Guy, yeah, leasing makes it extremely difficult for you, or you need to have an online sales presence that's substantial. Yeah, and I mean, it seems easy just to load things online and sell them, but nah, it's not, man. When you look at Otts and what they're doing over there, they have a big online sales catalog, and they make a lot of money on that, to the point where I hear sometimes they could close up that shop just for what, and just live off of online sales. But they have a staff of like 3 people in the back just shipping out orders all day. So that's great for them, but it's a lot of train stuff and models. To do it, Enzo, I hear he has a very good online sales going on there, so that helps. RCO ran Pro Line stickers. Having an indoor track seems to be a trend of the survivors. Yeah. It's great to have an indoor track. The problem with that is you need space. So, Adam retracts a message. Train and slot car demographic is even older than here. Yes, it is. I have to get my wife a train for Christmas. She wants a Hogwarts Express for under the Christmas tree. Well, at least that's an easy train to find. Oval is way bigger in winter than anything else. No on-road indoor pools, 200 entries a week. No off-road track does that either. Pheasantland is like the king of entries in its oval. Yeah, right now. So let's hope it stays that way. Extreme in Buck County. The Amish would come after work, build some benches, and have dinner watching the races. Sean Heck. Advertising is terrible. I've been watching racing for 30 years and just discovered that oval RC racing was a thing because Adam told me about it. I would have been involved years ago if I knew. See, that's another thing. It's the visibility, man. Nobody's out there advertising it, and we don't make it easy. So maybe what you need to do, maybe what we all need to do, spread the word, tell more people, bring them out, put them in a car, say, hey, you want to come out and race? Give it a shot. I tried with some people that just never did it before, and it's hit or miss. So, but the one thing we always say, and this is what I always say, you could have 10 rookies start. After that season, you'll be lucky to have 2 of them left. So, it's one of those. I know it's unpopular, but I do think we need to have more novice classes again. We have the tracks as modified, but look at how that is. That is a very competitive class. But maybe now that it's, same with Losi Sprint. People were talking about opening up those rules. Maybe they need to have a box stock, which would be more of a novice, and then an open class, so people can have a little more flexibility and move on up. So. AJ Slow Guy. I stumbled into Pheasantland one day looking for a part for a crawler. Never knew it was a thing. Now he's hooked. Yeah, that happens. Riverview RC went to Clinton County Racetrack to show the tracks is modified off to spectators. Yeah. And Kyle and those guys have done that. All online track directories are ancient or broken. No mags in the grocery store either. Yeah, there still is radio control car action, but that just sucks compared to where it used to be back in the old days. I'll tell you that. So, but who the fuck is looking at magazines in the grocery store anymore? It's not like when we were kids and mom take you shopping and okay, well, I'm going to go over the magazines and look there and read comics and look at magazines and try to see if you couldn't get to the adult magazines. That's what I did. All right, hold on. Let me catch up. I keep saying this for years now. Our RC tracks need to do this. There are tons of tracks around our area, and how many of these spectators even know they can do RC Oval? I don't know. How do we promote this? Bob Barker, we ran one Traxxas late model race for the first time ever around here. AJ, box stock, if they want to do more, that is how every class gets killed. People changing the rules. Yeah, it is. Outdoor tracks are at a disadvantage than the tracks that has outdoor and indoor track. Yeah. I tell a lot of guys, it's finding guys that have a little money to get started, need someone to start a business renting cars out. Yeah. What's a magazine? I miss seeing RC driver magazines. There used to be a ton of them when I was a kid. There's still radio controlled kart action, but that's, you know, that's not the same as what it was. Who the hell's Keith Coons? Varsity Mud Boss. Outdoor tracks at a disadvantage at the track's ends. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's the only thing I would like to see is I'd like to see novice classes come back. So, you know, guys that are just starting out, or guys that just, you know, they don't want to go out there and try and be the best in the world. And they go like, you know, I'm not good enough to go with this. I'm happy here, and they want to race that. So, I mean, I think that would be nice to have back. So, I mean, I don't think we need to go out there and, I know everybody said, well, you know, we need to have a bigger class to pad the, you know, I mean, do you really need to pad the entries to have a win over, you know, 5 guys that are a second and a half off the pace? No, not really. No. Well, here we go with the too many classes. I mean, no matter what, I mean, classes pay the bills. I do agree track should try and limit it, but 2 to 3 guys show up and they're willing to pay $20 each to race their class. How can a track owner turn down $60? Especially, you know, when you got 5 guys that are willing to do that. I mean, they're, you know, $60, $80, $100 for the night. Extra $100. That makes a difference. That's Dobbs. We don't have novice down here. It would be nice if we had that again. So that's where I started. There's no place for people to really start. But then again, I mean, the field's been... The entry-level field has been... It's been split up between Traxxas Modified and a little bit of Mud Boss. So, well, 100 plus entry day, it's too many. I mean, we did do it Saturday night. So, did Pheasantland get the audio fixed yet on YouTube? Yes, it is kind of fixed. Still sounds weird. Well, I mean, AJ, we did 130 entries Saturday night in 8 hours. We started racing at 7. Got done around 3. That's what I'm counting it done. 3 o'clock. By the time I got out of there, it was 3:30. It was probably about 2:30 when we got done. But 8 hours, I don't think it was bad. And I gotta thank all the drivers out there because they did a really good job. They came out there. They marshaled. They got out there to marshal. We weren't really calling for a lot. I mean, there's always, especially by the end of the night, it's harder to get guys out because they just want to go home or they've gone home. But they got out there. There was no hold up. Guys tried to get out there as fast as they could, so we didn't have to, you know, hold up races very long. So I think everybody did a really good job on Saturday night. Corey did a great job announcing, so I was happy with how it went. So, and usually I'm not. It's very hard announcing. Because some of the stuff, I mean, you know, you hear people complain about, it makes me not want to announce. I get sick and tired of it because you get a lot, you see a lot of that negativity, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't even want to do this. Screw that. So, I mean, I did see one comment. Where was it? I don't know. There was a comment that's just like, yeah, this is why I hate doing this. I like Bill's comment. 22 years ago, gas was 99 cents. Yes, it was, and things change. So things change. We got to take the ideas from the old days. I mean, you don't throw them away. They worked. But things are different now. So got to do what works. So we got to figure out something. Got to keep this going. So if we want to keep racing in the retirement home, let me get caught up here. Yeah, Ultegra. That's really where the problem is. There's not 2,000 to 3,000, just 2 to 3. This is why Mr. Oval RC, Mark Klaus, he tried to do the live streaming thing, and it's like he put, listen, Mark put a lot of money into the live stream setup. And then he'd go out there and he just wouldn't get the views. Plus, these tracks are in such out of the way places. There's no cell signal. It's hard getting Wi-Fi. And in the end, it's like he's doing this and he's not even making a nickel, but he's already invested $4,000 to $5,000. So to him, that got a little disheartening, because it's like, well, I can go do a review, actually make money on that video, instead of dragging all that equipment out. And, you know, that is a lot of equipment that he sets up. So it's not easy to set up a live stream. So, I mean, Pheasantland, I think with the camera they have, that looks really good. I don't see that we need anything more than that. So, yeah, Brian, I don't know how many. You know, some guys come down from mod sprints now and then, but it still is a beginner class. It's just a very super 360 sprint is a very super competitive class. So, yeah, stop starts at 4 and always goes late. I mean, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of guys probably don't like that. You know, they don't. You know, I will tell you, the next day it's getting home, getting to bed at 4. It makes next day rough. I was up at 7:30. I tried to get up then, pounded some coffee, just didn't happen. So I went back to sleep and got up at 9. And even then, I was tired all day. So, too many classes, stupid argument. People show up and run 2 or 3 classes. If you eliminate classes, they will likely switch to a different class. You have 100 entries in 10 classes, or 100 entries in 3 classes. You still do the same amount of heats and mains at the same length of day. Kinda. I mean, I can understand, yes, it does. Listen, if we had 100 entries and every heat was packed, so there's only 15 heats, we split them up. Now we got 23 heats, so it is going to take longer. So, I mean, but either way, you know, track owners are doing what track owners have to do to survive, and that's not going to change. And, you know, there's going to be certain tracks that say, hey, listen, especially if they own everything outright, this is their hobby, their passion. They're putting it out. They're doing it all on their own dime. A lot of them will say, listen, these are the only classes I'm going to run. You're going to show up. These are the classes you're going to race. You're not going to race anything else. We're not adding in 3 new classes just because, you know, you brought it. So, and that's fine. Hey, Kurt. Scott, you're a tool. I say that all the time. Yes, they can multiply like crazy. That is the problem. They do multiply like crazy. So, but I do think, like, somehow, some way, we kind of do need to get a novice class back. I see a lot of guys out there struggling in those, you know, other classes, and they're just not getting the results because they're not ready to move up and run with the big dogs. So, do we just say, well, tough, just get used to it? And what happens then? Those guys just go away. And before you know it, that's someone that might have, you know, wanted to stay in it, do it for a couple years. Now they're gone. So, I think the beginner classes should be box stock. But, yep. That's right, Altager. Legit fear for new folk that they show up and there isn't enough to race a given class for them. Factory had a good idea. Let adults race with the kids for free so kids have a race. Yep. No, there wasn't a beginner class, but, you know, it was also much bigger fields. When I started, I mean, there was juniors and adults, but, you know, we didn't have any novice classes, but there was also much bigger fields. The sport was growing, which it isn't now. It's dying. It's just, I mean, look at the car counts this summer. I mean, Davies, you did the math. You said, well, it's just about the same, but it does not feel the same. There's something going on out there that just isn't right, because we're not able to consistently run freaking races anymore. So I'm glad races intermittent to start back in January. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was great. And like, look at Adam now. Adam's gone from like running intermediate, just starting out intermediate, to like, he's a legit contender now in pretty much anything he runs. There's Nitro Sprint, Nitro EDM, and Nitro Truck. Let's be glad there aren't any more Nitros. In Mark's case, he brought a lot of people into RC racing that never knew it existed. If he keeps not doing RC racing videos, we won't get as many new people. And if Oval RC racing dies, his channel dies. Yeah, I mean, he did bring a lot in. I'm not saying he didn't. He definitely did. But he does have a lot of racing videos out there. And like, I'm not going to say Mark's never going to do another racing video again. I mean, Mark is trying to... Mark is already probably, as far as numbers go, the top YouTube guy in the world for RC racing. But there are guys that's Talbot and other guys like that are far more successful and make a lot more money than he does. And he doesn't quite have the same audience those guys do to make the same money. So he is trying to chase the money and make some money out of it. But he does have a lot of racing videos out there, and those always come up. I mean, how many times do you still see them in your feed? I mean, they still show up, they pop up. I mean, you know, someone's going to put in RC racing, and our videos and Mark's videos, they're going to pop up. So, and a lot of people, they don't really, if they're looking for RC racing, they'll click on a video and not realize, like, oh shoot, this video is 4 years old. So I don't think you proved that it was more cars and more drivers. It's just it was about the same, but it's been a dismal season. I mean, look at how many times we have not been able to freaking race. I mean, RJ's is really, that's the success story of the summer for oval racing. Yeah, but even then, like, look at RJ's now. Like, it was successful early on, now it's down. Pheasantland, they came on strong the last couple weeks. The Tuesday night show's been good. The Saturday night show was excellent. But, you know, Ultimate, the Thursday night program isn't great. And the Sunday show, other than this week, really hasn't been that great either. So I'm sure Deb would like to have a lot more entries out there. A lot of events for 8 to 10 hour investments. Also, finding someone willing to help new guys get speed and learn etiquette is hard. I had a guy get angry at me for invading sprint practice. Yeah, that'll happen. So, I mean, they're at big events in Saturday. One of those things Corey said is like, oh, we should have broke this down into controlled practice, but by that point, it's already too late, and there really wasn't a lot of time for practice. That's why we gave you guys an extra half hour, because there are a lot of new guys coming out, and by the time it hit 6:30, and by the time the track got dried out enough where most guys with the sprint cars and the mod sprints and the midgets and the mod late models could come out, it was pretty late in the day. And then they had to contend with a lot of traffic on the track. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of tracks in the same area running at the same time. Yeah. But each of these tracks, I mean, I think most of these tracks all have their own set of drivers. There's very few consistent travelers anymore. So, I come in and say that. Well, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, weekend racings are always going to be mainly an 8-hour show. I mean, 183 has been able to get their show down pretty quick, but I mean, even then, they're starting at 11. Track opens around, I think, 9. And they're getting done around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I think. So you're still looking at 6 or 7 hours. I mean, you come out for a weekend show, it's one of those you're giving up that day. So, like Saturday night, you come out for a Saturday night show, it's just like, well, you're going to come out, that's your night. So, the one thing we should have done Saturday night was probably just open the pits at 2 and get started, 3 or 4. I think then we would have been done a little earlier. But then again, if we weren't running up against the clock, would we, well, it's going to be this time by the time we get this done. Would we have just kind of, oh, well, we got plenty of time, slowed things down and slowed the pace down? Because, first round qualifying, by the time we were done, that wound up being 2.5 hours before we were ready for the next one. That's why we really wanted to do a short practice while we got things set. But then, then we talked. Some people came in and said, well, we probably shouldn't. We're just running so far behind. So then we were going to cancel it. And then we got complaints that, hey, we need practice. So that's why we opened up practice. I was really hoping we could just let's just run through. We'll open up practice between the heats and the mains. Because getting the mains set up for that many cars and that many mains is always a pain. So, yeah. Bingo fuel. Good night, all. See ya. I don't mind a long day, but it's hard to commit for a whole summer. Yeah, but I mean, Kurt, you don't have to race every week in the summer, too. I mean, you don't have to. This is where I say, that's where, I know a lot of guys can't do it, but that's where the weeknight shows are always good, because they're shorter shows. You come in after work, and you're usually done by 10. That's the goal. You get in there, you start at 7, you're done by 10. They run quick. It's more about spending a long day with friends. Most people will have a picnic or party on a summer weekend and spend that long day drinking beer and doing nothing with friends. Kurt, where have you been racing at? Only issue. Hey, Sal, how you been, buddy? I haven't seen you in forever, man. I keep driving by there. I think I need to stop in. Sal, this is RC racing. We cannot smile and have fun. So that's just the way it works. AJ Slow Guy. Only issue is that track dries out that early. Yeah, yeah. Mostly did RJ's Wednesday night. Went to 183 a few times. Weekdays was perfect. Got some practice with small fields. Yeah, I would love if Bill could figure out a way to keep that weeknight show going. I went up there a couple times this winter for, weeknight racing where we did some on-road racing with the low-C NASCARs on the carpet. Would have been nice if we could have got people to come out there and do it more regular. That would have been fun. Yeah, Pheasantland Tuesdays and Ultimate Thursdays are really quick. Yeah, Sal's here now. I want pizza. I do too. Maybe we should all go to Sal's. Maybe we should just do the show from Sal's and get pizza. If it's just me, Sal, do you mind? I'll just come up there, do the show, have some pizza. You can close the whole store down and we'll take over. We could bring in an audience if you want. I race because Eric makes me. Yeah, weeknight shows are typically much shorter. Yeah. And I think most of us regulars that do this, that have been traveling around and know everybody. I personally like going out to spend the day out and hang out with the guys. So, all right. I'll get a hold of you, Sal. We will come out there. Tell Kyle, you keep your headaches. You keep having your headaches. I'm going to Sal's and get pizza. That'll be what brings him out. All right, we'll pick a day. I haven't seen you in forever, Sal. When are you going to come out and race again? You bought those sprint cars, and like they've been gathering dust. So you need to come out and start racing a bit. Maybe you can come out this winter and run, you know, Tuesday nights or Friday nights or something, whenever they decide to race. So there you go. We're at 8:52, man. We've been on here for a while talking about this crap. So, and we really got nothing accomplished. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else on that post? I mean, either way, you know, what you need to do, introduce some people you know to RC racing. If you think they'd be into it, bring them out. Try to get them to race. That's always the goal. Get more people doing this. Let's see. Hey, no matter what, like Osborne said, gas was 99 cents a gallon 22 years ago. It's not anymore. Things are different now. So we gotta adapt to the times. That's all there is to it. It's not gonna be the same. It's gonna be different, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be worse. It could be better. So yeah, I know. I see that. All right, I'll try one. We'll talk about that, Sal. I would like to try that. Yep, that's right, Brian. Wait, why did you retract that, TJ? I was just starting to read it and you retracted it. You son of a... Oh, TJ. So anyway, well, let's wait and see what TJ has to say here. But yeah, Sal, I'll take you up on that. I'll get a hold of you this week. I think I got to go out that way next week, so I'll see if you're around. That's all we do is talk around in circles. Yeah, we do. I mean, we aren't getting anywhere. We never get any traction. So, being more nice compromise, get those weekday runs, being more advertised to beginners, get us new guys some time to work into those competitive weekend fields, at least at one or two of the tracks. Carpet season. Where are you going racing carpet? Or where are you going? Up RJ's? You got some other carpet you're going to talk about? Yeah, I mean, how do we fix it, TJ? That's the problem. None of us have ever hit on a freaking winning idea, so that's the big issue. But anyway, so I think that's it for the night. I don't think we're going to have time to work on the car. So, we got to thank our sponsors, RIP, KHD, J-Body, Papa Willie's, Ultimate. Well, let me look and make sure I got them all. Well, thank Chris Bertotti. He's going to help me out with some motors for 13.5 of Alpha Pace. So, you know, I talked to him about that and, you know, what kind of difference will a good Tune 13.5 make? So he tells me that it will make quite a difference. And based on Chris Bertotti's results in 13.5 Saturday night, he was pretty damn quick. So, yep. Well, just remember that laugh of when I wreck you, Brian. Nah, there is no one-lane answer, man. You're right, TJ. That is the one thing. Like this summer, what's been the problem? It's a lot of little things. There is no... You need help with a 13.5 motor? I need help with a 13.5 motor, Kurt. We got the same problem. Now, there's no one-lane answer. There's a whole host of little things that, you know, well, you know, maybe if this were different or that were different. But then again, if we change anything, is that going to fucking matter? You know, you either got to get people that want to race or people just don't want to race. It's one or the other. You either want to race or you don't want to race. So not everybody wants to race. Davies, that is right. I will say that. Get you hooked on shorter weekdays when you realize the longer weekend is where you want to be. And yes, it is. Yes, it is. That is the spot to be. Long weekends. when you get used to it, I mean, Kurt, I think you got young kids, so you don't really have the same options like some of us old farts do, or those younger guys that don't have kids yet. Brian Palancar, you're a big 305 sprint winner anymore, man. Congratulations. Glad to see you out. Yeah, being an adult does get in the way. Yeah, once you get used to it and you get used to coming out and hang out with everybody, man, you'll enjoy that. And, you know, in the meantime, try and talk Osborne into racing during the week at RJ's. Now, I know I was talking to Brett. I don't know if Brett's on here. He probably isn't. But he was talking about redoing the whole track at RJ's. I like his idea. We'll see if it can be done. There's not a lot of time to get it done because they usually start around November. So, I don't know. So let's hope Brett can get something done. He's talking about putting in a bigger track there. That'd be awesome. So, but anyway, folks, it is 8:57. I'm signing off. So thank you for watching. Leave a like. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to go racing this week. Thursday night at Ultimate. Sunday at RJ's. All those other places I talked about. 183 on Saturday. Ultimate Sunday, RJ Sunday, 183 Saturday. Just get your ass out there and do some racing. And we will see you at the track. Night all.